So what we want to do now is look at harvesting some of these financial and tax attributes, because this is the biggest area that is overlooked. Most of the time, on average, I can tell you that the average savings for an owner of an ADU per year, and this is actual money saved, plus cash flow, improvement of cash flow, starts at around $30,000 to $35,000 a year. Okay, we can find just 2 or 3 things and add between the tax savings, the financial attributes, and the missed rent. We can generally find between $30,000 to $35,000 without even blinking an eye. In some cases, it's a lot more because the property has more than one ADU on it, and it's just a multiplier at that point. When we look at a property, here's how we scale the property. This is called scaling. So we have the class and then the type. We have the range and value ranges that we're going to use, and we have the LTL to long-term lease return on investment and short-term occupancy return on investment. We're going to grade the investment, and then we're going to use a gross rent multiplier minimum. So a Class B plus ADU attached build pre-approved building is going to have a good to high value with amenity and finish work taking it to high. It's going to have a good to high ROI and a very good ROI if it's a short-term occupancy. And we're going to be able to use a minimum of a 13 times gross rent multiplier. So if your annual rents are $20,000 and this was your property, we would take 20,000 times 13, the gross rent multiplier, and that would be the bottom end of the range of value for your ADU. That's pretty easy, but it's all of those factors that go in that make the difference between a Class B plus at 13 and a Class B plus at 12 or 14 multiplier. Each of those factors is going to add or detract from that multiplier, and that gross rent multiplier is going to be all encompassing in terms of valuation and determining value. We take that and then interplay the ADU type with a rent strategy, because when we're doing this work, we're helping the owner or the agent understand that you have a lot more tenant opportunity than probably what you realize. Let's take a look at some of the other opportunities that you have, because you're going to get a much better value and a much better rent if we just look at this a little bit differently. And so this classification allows us to classify that property more accurately so that the owner now has more information. Particularly if you're going to be buying, you might want to know this, because you might have the insight to increasing that value pretty significantly after you bought the property. One example recently that we did, the ADU cost to build was $135,000. It was appraised, the ADU was appraised at $225,000. The monthly rents were $2,150 with the utilities included. This simple approach would test the appraised value versus valuation model. The valuation model that we came back with resulted in a valuation of $283,800, which was 26% higher. With a full in-depth rent survey, determined the rent should be $3,095. That gave us a range of value between $283,800 to $371,400. That's the value that we gave that ADU, and the rent that they were charging at $2,150, minimum that we came up with that they should have been charging was $3,095. So you take $3,095, score it, use the gross rent multiplier. I think in their case it was 13, and then you get the range of value. At a low end, $283,800. at a high end 371.4 if you add these other things, and they're making almost 50% more in rent because they didn't know what they didn't know. So you can see the appraised value is one way to do it, but it's very limited. It's only going to give you a snapshot on market comps. It's not going to give you an in-depth analysis on what the rents really should be and what the value really could strike at if you just did a couple of things different. The problem with the industry, there's way too much noise. Too much noise. You can't go anywhere without hearing a bunch of noise. What's important in this process, whether you're an owner, a buyer, a seller, an investor, an agent, a broker, doesn't matter. It's really important to organize your facts, determine and look at all of the options that you have available, understand all of those options, do your homework, work with experts, and figure out what it is that you've got and know what your options really are. One of the things that we offer is a free survey analysis that doesn't cost you anything to do a survey. We'll do a quick survey. It takes a day or two to turn that around, and we'll tell you what those options are. And generally, we'll give you some ranges that you can look at. There's no need for you to spend any money just to find out that you might have something more valuable than you thought about. But the one thing that I would caution is you certainly want to look at those rents, because I've not seen one yet in the last several years where the rents aren't at least 25% below what they should be. And this is because people are approaching the tenants the same way they do as an apartment building, and it's not the same. So for the financial overview, we also want to look at the type of ADU, the class of the ADU, the rent model that the ADU is employing. We want to look at the cost to construct, because that's your inside basis. You have to have a tax basis. Almost every ADU owner is overpaying in property tax, and they don't even realize, because you can make certain arguments about functional use of 5-year asset groups and depreciation. I mean, there's a whole host. It's income producing property, so it's the assessment's different than it is on a residential, but nobody's making those arguments. And so the county tax assessor keeps charging you more property tax. And I'm saying you don't have to pay it if you don't want to. Here are the minimum 14 factors that directly, and I'm talking directly, these 14 factors directly impact value. And the impact could be as much as $200,000. Your type of ADU, the class, the amenities, the features, the benefits, the rent modeling, your saturation analysis, how many ADUs in your area, proximity analysis, sensitivity analysis, the census generational analysis, your location zip code analysis, your tenant profile, utilities, submeters, parking, yard, privacy, design, and features. We looked at all of these things to formulate an opinion of value. Number one, we're experts. We do it better than anybody. Number two, you've got to be able to count on whatever somebody's giving you that they can defend that value. And so we welcome working with your appraiser. We welcome working with your tax person. We welcome working with your attorneys or your real estate broker. We're just another member of the team to help you get the highest value and the highest rents for the highest and best use of your property. We have 3 types of valuations that we do as valuation analyst, CVA, Certified Valuation Analyst. We do a summary of value, we do a range of value, and we do a conclusion of value. And each of these are unique depending on the status of your ADU. Market conditions drive half of value. Market conditions drive half of the value. Right now, the market is hot and getting hotter in terms of ADU. The overall market actually won't directly impact you. It will indirectly impact you because of interest rates, like the bond rates. July, August, don't be surprised if we don't see a real disturbance in the economy over the bond rates. And when that happens, other things are going to happen in the market. and people are not going to be expecting that. We can see that these are starting to show signs of it right now. This will affect financing. Each ADU has its own unique profile, and the foundation that's built is the property's profile. And we're going to do what is called a pro forma profile analysis. Pro forma profile analysis. One of the things that you get for attending today for free is we're going to give you a free copy of the Ultimate Guide to ADU Investing, Owning, Managing, and Selling. You can buy this for $20 on Amazon, but we're going to give you a copy of it for free. Plus, we're going to give you the opportunity to get a free copy before we even put it on Amazon of the Ultimate Guide to 107 tax deductions for your ADU. 107 deductions. Most people only know about 20. We've got 107. Early stage pre-construction summary of value. Early stage pre-construction, pre-occupancy, no tenant. It hasn't been placed in service yet. That's the ADU that's going to get a summary of value valuation. Okay? Up to before you put a tenant in it. Once you put a tenant in it, then it changes. It's a range of value. And the range of value valuation is conducted once it's placed in service or it's held out for rent to be placed in service. We looked at the range of value because now we have to figure other factors. We have to figure the amenity and scorecard those, and we have to figure out vacancy, and we have to scorecard that. If you don't have 5 years of rent history, I can tell you it's 6 to 8%, and vacancy has to be built into regardless, because you don't have 60 months of uninterrupted rent. We looked at the range of value as the most accurate reflection of value with little rent history. Conclusion of value. This is appropriate in the case where there will be more than one ADU on the property. And the valuation methods are more complex because we have to do financial measures and we have to index those measures as an investment asset as well as a real estate asset. And so the valuation is different because a COV is a conclusion of value of a going concern, much like we do for business valuations. Because technically you have a business of income production in the rental of residential property. And that's how it gets classified. The valuation process, it's not that complicated, but it is detailed. We've got to gather information. We've got to put together a profile and pro forma. We've got to identify the owner's objectives, conduct some preliminary findings, issue a report of findings, get a proposal, visit the property, begin the valuation study. I mean, all of this goes in before we even do anything to make sure that we haven't missed anything before we start. So for the owner, this is a huge benefit because you're not paying for any of this on the front end. And if it's not worth doing, we're going to tell you that up front. Save your money. Don't spend money on this study because right now you don't need a study. Right now you've got everything is working perfectly. We'll give you a couple of recommendations. Don't spend the money if you don't need to. If it's going to give you a benefit, then yes, let's make the investment and take the time and put together an accurate study for you. People that have been successful, particularly in real estate investing, and have taken this approach, it's kind of funny how the brain works. The brain does nothing to help you make money, believe it or not. I know a lot of people that got PhDs and they're broke. So the brain does nothing to help you make money. But people that are successful in real estate are usually successful because of some common things. They used professionals where necessary and needed. They did their homework. They looked at all of their options. They explored all of their options. They got more than one opinion about something, and then they were engaged in the process because it was their money. This is a big investment. And if you've got one of these or you're thinking about one of these, you want to protect that investment. And I think the clearest way is to make sure that you've got a team of advisors and experts that can work with each other and help you make the decision to buy, sell, or invest with an ADU. That's not that complicated. It's an essential tool if you're a buyer, a seller, an owner, or an investor, or a broker or an agent. The average ADU owner will miss about $150,000 in financial and tax attributes in a 5-year holding period. On average, they'll miss 150 grand. And then when they sell the property, they'll usually pay 50,000 or more in taxes on capital gains that they didn't have to pay because they sold it in a way that their tax professional didn't understand and treated it as a normal capital gain asset. And it's not. So we've got a couple of free gifts for you. Alan will coordinate making sure everybody gets an email out, and John, who is on, will make sure that the email works, and we'll send those stuff to you. The ultimate guide to the 107 tax deductions for an ADU, that's going to be, I think, about a 3 or 4 week. There's a delay in the printing right now because we're just getting ready to release it on Amazon. So if you got it today, if you got an email today to verify, it'll probably be about no more than 3 or 4 weeks. You'd have it shipped to you and delivered. You're going to actually get the book. So it's kind of cool. Also, if you join there at the bottom, aduofwealthmastery.com/register, it's free for life. We waived the $497 subscription fee. You get in and you're in for life for free. You get the monthly Taxing Times monthly magazine. Starting in the May edition, we have a 5-part series on the ADU revolution. It is a crazy series that we're doing on ADU revolution. This is going across the country, but here in California, it's really a big deal. Featured articles every month on the markets, on the real estate market, on ADUs, special series on the ADU trends. It gives you a unique perspective and things to think about because a lot of this stuff, maybe your tax people don't really specialize in this kind of tax work. This would be good information for them to help you. Again, the 5-part series started in May, the ADU revolution, and it's really in-depth and exciting. When people find out that they can sell their ADU as a separate parcel, man, they just get really excited. Here's the problem. Don't sell it for $100,000 below what its value is, because then you're gonna regret selling it because it's probably worth more than you thought. And don't get a market comp because there are no reliable market comps. You can email me personally. You can text me personally. Just text me ADU. I'll get back to you if you want to sit down and figure out how we can work with you or your clients if you've got clients or your particular situation. It never costs for a consultation. We want to make our experts and all that we have available to you and your experts. We've got retired contractors, engineers, architects, loan people. We've got experts out the gazoo that will talk to you and give you advice about this, that, or the other, and answer your questions if you have questions, particularly here in California, because the real estate industry is just it's a different animal here in California than in most places. So again, free lifetime membership when you join, and you get the guides. And there are a bunch of ebooks up there also. Those are little short books that are specific on very specific topics. And always good to have that stuff in your library. It allows you to broaden your view and your perspective. The more information that you have, the better decisions that you're going to be able to make. And again, don't forget the ultimate guide here, because it's a pretty extensive. I think it's about a 210 or 215 page book. So let me go ahead and stop the share, and then I'm going to ask John if we've got any questions in the chat room.
We do have some questions.
All right, let's go ahead and open up for some questions. I hope everybody got a lot of value out of the presentation.
Absolutely. The first one from Teresa, can the type of ADU change over time, especially if use changes from family use with no rental to rental to non-family?
Oh, actually, that's a very good question. Yes, it can change. And yes, it can dramatically affect income, rent, deductions, tax attributes, and value. Absolutely. If you started out using it for a family member and now you're going to use it for rent, you've got very different rules that are going to be very important. And when you place it in service as income producing, because your basis and some of the tax benefits that you're going to take advantage of, if you don't know that, you will lose them in the future. So you definitely want to do, you know, what we call a transition analysis. It doesn't cost to do that. We will identify those issues for you, and then you can go back to your tax professional, your financial people, or whatever. At least you have some talking points of how it's going to affect you before you start spending money or losing some opportunities.
Thank you. That helps because I'm in
Yeah.
that situation.
Looks like, let's see here. Heidi wants to know, what about prefab modular AGUs? Which class does a prefab modular fall under?
If they're detached, it's going to be B or higher.
Okay. Can the cost, another one from Teresa, can the cost of the ADU made into a medical facility be spread over more than 1 year?
So
The tax
the,
deductions.
the answer to that question depends on some other factors. If you have your own business, then yes, because we could do a medical expense accountable reimbursement plan for your business, and we can spread that pro rata over a period of time. If you're just doing it personally, we would probably want to look at a different kind of use because you're going to be subject on a medical limitation to 10% of your adjusted gross income. You're going to lose that portion of the deduction. So we may want to look at that and do a preliminary analysis to figure out which option gives you the better option before you make the decision to use it or to claim it. Once you claim it, then you have to meet those rules, and we help make sure that you meet all of those rules, because if it gets audited, you don't want to have any problems documenting that with the IRS. And if it gets audited and we did it, we'll represent you at the audit at no cost, because we're enrolled agents. We're not allowed to give you bad advice.
Well, that's nice to know.
For the next one, for rental of ADU, do you open an LLC or an S corp?
Well, I've got two answers. I've got my answer, and then I got the answer that I tell everybody. My wife and I have a lot of experience as investors in real estate. I would never, ever, ever, under any condition that I can think of on planet Earth, invest in real estate where I didn't have a C corporation management conduit and an LLC holding company that held the property and managed from the corporation, because that's going to give me the best tax profile now and in the future when I sell, and I'm not going to have the capital gain exposure. Um, you have a different situation with the property. If you had a separate parcel number, you would want an LLC holding company to hold the LLC asset, the ADU, with not an S corp, because S corps, when it comes to real estate, have unique rules. You'd want a C corp to kind of manage that. You can set that all up for less than $500. The challenge that you're going to have is if you can't get the separate parcel number for the ADU, you can't do an assignment of income. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to analyze the best way to perform the tax characteristics so that when they hit your tax return, you can do it through an LLC as a partnership, but you're going to have to do an analysis first. The good news is we can do that analysis and that review at no cost to you to tell you which options you're going to have available. The consultation and the analysis, the preliminary analysis, doesn't cost you, and we can take a look at that and then tell you which one's going to be the better for you.
Perfect. From Annie, if the ADU is on a rental property, do those tax benefits still apply?
If the ADU is what?
On a rental property?
I don't understand the question. The ADU would be a rental property, right?
Right, but I think what she's asking is if it's on a property that you already rent out, and so it's like
Oh,
a yeah.
so you have another rental property and you're adding an ADU to the rental property. Yes.
That's how I understand it. Yeah.
All right, got it,
Mhm.
got it. So yes, that actually does a lot. It changes your asset allocation for all of your 5-year, 7-year, 15-year, and 27.5-year properties. So it changes that allocation, number one. Number two, it's going to give you some more added tax benefits that you're going to want to look at and decide, um, because you have a couple of options how you want to take those tax benefits. If you can take them now or you want to take them later. Now, let me just say one thing. The new tax bill that just got approved in the House that's now on its way to the Senate, if it gets approved, is going to be retroactive back to January 20th of this year. There's a provision in that tax bill that I've actually read, that says that you can get 100% expense deduction for any equipment related to business, which would be an ADU, that you place in service back to January 20th of this year, and 100% expense deduction for the building. So if you bought a $5 million building, you get a $5 million write-off. And that's a big deal because it's going to be retroactive back to January 20th. So you have some opportunities to do some planning. What I would look at is I would look at the last couple of years' tax returns and then get your baseline. And then I would look at your current situation, and you've got enough time before the end of the year. You don't want to wait until December to do this because you won't have any time to put anything in place. But if you've got those opportunities, which you would have, you're going to have some big tax advantages. The question is, are they more valuable now, or will they be more valuable January 1st of next year? And that's going to be a factor and circumstance case that will vary depending on your particular situation. We've got the software and we can run that analysis. Plus, we have some unique AI software that we've developed on the ADU side that we can run a comprehensive analysis and tell you which is going to be more valuable to you. And right now it's 50-50. If you're making over $300,000 a year, it's going to be more valuable to you this year. If you're making under $300,000 a year, it's probably going to be more valuable to you next year.
Gotcha. From Anna, we've got when refinancing cash out on a property with a newly built or recently completed ADU, can the lender use your ADU valuation instead of requiring a full appraisal?
Yeah, our valuation is actually more comprehensive and is a bigger report and more accurate. We just did one for a client in Texas, and the lender loved it because we gave them not only the pro forma and the rent survey, we gave them the 5-year and all the tax attributes that the lender gets to add back in to help qualify for the loan.
From Teresa, would your evaluation of my almost completed ADU affect the tax appraisal?
So your assessed value and your tax value are two different animals. Your assessed value is only valid for the purposes of assessing property taxes. Here's the question that you want to ask or you want to be aware of. This is very common in real estate, and it's one of the biggest things that we see the biggest mistakes everywhere. Let's say you have $150,000 invested in your ADU. The typical approach, the typical accountant, and I'm not beating up on accountants, I'm just telling you what the average one will do. They'll take that 150,000 and they'll divide it by 27.5 years. That's residential rental. And then you get 127.5 of that every year. I don't do that. I take that 150,000 and I divide it into asset groups of 5-year property, 7-year property, 15-year property, and whatever's left over is the residual goes to 27.5 year. In the first 5 years, I'm going to create enough tax benefits to pay for almost 50% of the cost of your ADU in the first 5 years. Let me tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of the common area, the fence, the sod, the sprinklers, the trees, the shrubs, the sidewalks, the driveway, the light fixtures outside, and I'm going to take the percentage of the ADU to the common area, and I'm going to put that in a 15-year asset group, and I'm going to deduct that also. Now, what you have is higher cash flow. You have no taxable income for the first 5 years because we front loaded on the asset segregation and allocated those assets more accurately. So you get all this income that you report and it's tax free because you're not paying any tax on it. And now I get to go argue with the tax assessor, and they love me, by the way. And I get to go down there and say, look, this 5-year property is going down in value 1/5 every year. So the property taxes for the 5-year have to go down every year for 5 years. And your 7-year property has to go down 1/7. And your 15-year property has to go down 1/15. I'm going to help you file that protest to the assessed value, get that what the count. We're working with Orange County and LA County and San Diego County right now in several cases. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in property taxes that I think we're going to be able to recover for the last 3 years that they've already paid. And we're going to lower it for the next 20 years. You want somebody to look at this that does this every day because we already know what they're going to need and what they're going to want. And we can do that analysis. And generally, it's not that complicated once we get the data. It's not that complicated to file the form. It's a bureaucracy, right? It's just government stuff. The problem is if you don't have a basis that you can give the county assessor that they can rely on, they're not going to do anything. And so what happens is most of the time the agent doesn't know, the broker doesn't know, and the client doesn't know. And so when we stumble onto it, that's part of our review. We want to make sure that there's some special exemptions in California that your property may qualify for where you don't get another property tax bill. If you're in a certain economic zone, it's going to be no assessed value goes up. So our AI system is going to scrub all of that and figure that out. It would take me hours to do that. I can do it in less than a day and have that whole thing back in less than 1 day. I'm going to know everything that you qualify for.
What does that cost me?
That analysis is going to be free because you attended this. So we're not going to charge you for that. If we can get you a benefit, then we'll give you a quote for the fee to do the study and to do the work. But the analysis, I'm never going to charge you for the analysis. Let me tell you why. Back about 25 years ago, I had an experience with a contractor. And it came out, gave me a bid to do some work. And I don't go for the cheapest bid. I go for the quality of work. And then about 2 days later, I get a bill for the bid. In other words, he charged me $250 to come out and give me a bid. Well, first of all, I'm not paying it because you didn't tell me that I'm going to have to pay you $250 for you to tell me how much you're going to charge me. Okay? Second, I don't think you're allowed to do that.
I doubt it.
So I don't charge. I've never charged a client to figure out what it's going to take to do your deal. And I'm never going to start charging to tell you what it's going to take. I can tell you this, and we've got thousands of clients that will give you glowing testimonies. For every dollar you pay us, we can generally measure and show you specifically about $8 in tax savings or refund recovery that we can recover. So it's an 8-to-1 ratio. You pay me $1 and I'm going to save you 8 or get you back 8 or save you 4 and get you back 4. I've been doing this a long time. And one of the things that I have to make sure that I do as an enrolled agent I'm not allowed to give you advice that you can't take and use, number one. And number two, if I can't tell you the financial benefit of what you're going to get or save, then there should be no fee. And that's just been my policy for the last 25 years. There should be no fee. If I can't save you some money or get some money that you've overpaid back, then whatever I'm doing for you, I'll do for free.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pretty
All right.
simple.
Here's another one from Anna. As a real estate broker in California, I'm interested in assisting clients who wish to sell their ADUs separately from the primary residence under AB 1033. Are there specific resources, educational programs, or step-by-step guides available that can help me navigate the condo conversion process and effectively support my clients through these transactions?
I've got a couple of architects and engineers that are very familiar with that process and a retired contractor, so we can get you a free consultation with all of them. And then you're going to want to know one thing in particular in terms of your basis before you get a separate APN number, and I'll give you that consultation and review at no cost to tell you what that's going to look like before we even do that. It's not a very extensive process on either side, but you're going to want to, number one, you're going to want to get educated and know what the rules that you've got to navigate are. And two, you're going to want to know after the fact, after you sell that, what other things do you need to be aware of? And so those are some of the things that I think that are in that gray area. And we're working with a couple of attorneys, real estate attorneys right now, that will be happy to give some consultations, because there are some legal things that you're going to want to be aware of. And depending on what area of California, you can end up paying $600-700 an hour for an attorney. I'll get you a free consultation, so you don't have to worry about paying for an hour of time. So you can talk to a qualified attorney, whoever he or she is, that will tell you some of those things that you need to be aware of. We're happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We got one from, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Dami. Lenders like BOA and PennyMac have used a sales comp to evaluate the ADU. Have you had any pushback from lenders regarding your report, or do you work with particular lenders?
We work with Meredith, one particular lender, and then James, who's in all but about 9 states around the country. So we do work with a couple of those that are pretty well known. Here's the general rule. What we normally do is take if you've already got an appraisal or you're working with an appraiser, what we would do is coordinate with the appraiser that we're going to provide a supplement for these particular scope of work that are carve outs where our expertise as valuation experts and tax experts. They're carve outs so that the appraiser still does their part, which is valuable, but we're going to do our part and make what they do even more valuable, because we're going to support it with our expertise in terms of valuation and the tax attributes. So yes, we can do that. We've never had a pushback. In fact, we got a loan approved in circumstances where nobody else could get it approved on a refi with the study that we wrote. And we had to spend a little bit of time working with the lender to educate the lender about how the tax attributes work. But once we got that done and underwriting was good with that, he got, I think it was $400,000 or $500,000 loan, did the refi, and it was no problem. We're happy to work with your lender. We're not trying to sell you a loan or anything like that. I want to add value where I can add value. And if we can be part of your team, then we're happy to work with whoever you've got to get them up to speed. There's always a way to do it. And I think they call it or refer to it as a supplement to the appraisal. And underwriting there's a form that they fill out, and then they just attach our report to that appraisal, and then you're usually good to go.
So there was a question about whether they can text to set up a time. I did drop in the Calendly for you, James, for them to set it up. Is that the way you prefer it?
Yeah, they can. Yeah,
Okay.
do the calendar is fine. Yeah.
Perfect. And then the final question, can you help us with if my location is in the Bay Area?
Yeah, anywhere in the country.
Perfect.
Yeah, anywhere in the continental United States, Hawaii, Alaska, blah blah blah, and Puerto Rico, I think U.S. possession, territory possession, we can do stuff there.
Great. Yeah, that was the last question in the chats. So,
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking your valuable time. It's been fun for me. I always love sharing our knowledge and our expertise. Don't be a stranger. We're going to send you some stuff. Alan's going to reach out to everybody. Make sure you get all the free goodies that we've got available. I'm happy to meet with you anytime. By the way, for any of you that are real estate professionals, we're trying to develop some relationships. We get clients all the time. We're not getting in the real estate business. Okay. I've got people that want to buy. I've got people that want to sell. I've got people that want to invest. If you're a real estate professional, let's have a cup of coffee. Let's sit down and figure out how we can refer clients to you and make this a good relationship for you as well, because we're tired of turning down business, and I don't want to get into the real estate business as my wife, my beautiful wife, is a retired broker here in California. She keeps her license active, but we're not interested in getting in the real estate business that way. Okay. So if you're an agent or a broker and you've got other agents, especially, we'd love to talk to you, because we've got clients out the gazoo sometimes that, we just had 2 that we couldn't do anything with in Texas. We don't have any referrals in Texas. And I know we've got a couple here in San Diego that are looking to buy. We're looking to list our one property pretty soon, and we're going to hire a broker to do that. And we're looking to buying 2 more properties before the end of the year, and we're going to hire a broker to do that. So if you want some business, get in touch with us and let's figure out how we can do business.
Thank you.
All right. I'm all good.
thanks, James.
All right, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. Remember Memorial Day, the blood and treasure that gave us our liberty and our freedom. Let's not forget those that serve us. All right. Take
Follow
care.
up by email to every one of you. I'll send you an email for follow-up. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.